All right, it's the New York Giants Squad Show. My name is Jay Berman. It's time for the Dart Start. We will get you set.
I'm Patricia Trainer of Locked On Giants. And are the Giants making the right decision to start Jaxson Dart at this juncture?
I'm Mark Collins, two-time Super Bowl champion. Let's start this right again.
Let's go, Big Blue. It's the New York Giants Squad. Everything New York Giants every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the G-Men. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. The Giants Squad Show starts now.
All right, it should be a fun week again. Alongside Patricia and Mark, I am Jay. This, of course, is the New York Giants Squad Show every Thursday this time. Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. This is the time we do big picture. Obviously, it's more focused. Patricia, it's dart time.
Dart starts, absolutely. I mean, you kind of knew it was coming. The 0-3 start, the offense looking kind of shoddy the first, 2 out of the first 3 weeks. But here's the thing. It's not all on one guy. I mean, Brian Daboll has said it's not all on one guy. Russell Wilson, has he been good? Save for the Dallas game? No, he hasn't. But you can't swap out the O-line. You can't swap out the receivers and the tight ends and the running backs. So you can change out the quarterbacks. And I think, we've kind of seen Brian Daboll itching to get Jaxson Dart a bigger role in that offense. And it starts this week. I don't know if this is the best week to do it. I personally would have waited until next week when they play the Saints. But here we are.
Yeah, Mark, your thoughts?
Well, I kind of predicted this earlier
You did.
in the season. If the Giants go 0-3 and 0-4, there will be a change. I think at this point, this juncture, yes, it's perfect. And I'll tell you why. After the Giants played Dallas, they showed that they could protect the quarterback long enough for them to move the ball and be productive. Against the Kansas City Chiefs, they did the same thing with Thomas coming back. There was production there in the offensive line, and they ran the ball pretty decently. So it's perfect. So Dart comes in and play well. He'll do some good things, I'm pretty sure. And they'll script some plays, his good plays for him to be productive. I think it's a perfect time. As I said before, you go 0-3 and 0-4, it's time to break that glass in case of emergency, pull the handle. This is that time right now.
Yeah, it's funny because we've been pretty down on the Giants, and rightfully so, more than just this season, really for a while now. But things have, or at least in the last couple of days, things have changed as far as, positivity and excitement. And that's what a quarterback does. Now, obviously he has to play well, but Mark, things have changed, at least for me. I'm excited about a Giants game for the first time in a while.
Well, hell, Jay, we've been down so low. It looks good now because you got excitement and a new quarterback ready to come into play. So there's excitement there. How low can you go now? The only place you go now is up. I'm really looking forward to this game. I'll be there for this game. I'm looking forward to it. And I will talk about this later on in the show. I'm excited because from what I'm hearing, and Patricia, you know more about this than I because you're the pulse of the team, I tend to think that the other players are excited for this change as well.
It's interesting. I kind of got split feelings about that, if I'm being honest with you. I think, everybody was supportive. Everybody said the right thing. But there was almost a sense of, okay, what can we expect? And, one of the things that came out in Daboll's presser yesterday, Wednesday, is that he said he had a meeting with the team. Then he went off and he told the quarterbacks of his decision. And most of the players said that they found out about it through social media, the way the rest of us found out about it. So that didn't sit too well with me. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I would have reversed it. I would have had the meeting with the quarterbacks and then had the meeting with the team. Why have them hear about it else, from external sources? But that being said, Jaxson Dart, they're supportive of him. There's no question about it. I mean, the kid hasn't done anything wrong. the reason why I say I would have waited until next week, easier opponent in the Saints. I mean, they're throwing this kid in against a top 10 defense that is really going to put his head on a swivel. So, you want to build up confidence. You want to, protect the kid. You don't want the kid to get beaten down or anything like that. And, Mark, you keep referring to break glass in case of an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
Are they doing this because the team is in a spiral, or is Dable doing this to save jobs? That's what I would like to know.
I think a bit of both. The Giants and Dable, what do they have to lose? My thing is, if you wait another week, what's the difference between this week and next week? I know the Chargers are great. Don't get me wrong. I'll talk about today on the show. Why not put him in now? The downside, well, yeah, I'm pretty sure the Chargers, top flight team, but they're gettable. Make no mistake about it. I know a lot about that team. They're very gettable. Why not? The Giants and Dable, what do you have to lose at this point? You're 0-3. You lose to the Chargers, you're 0-4. What difference does a week make?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because the Saints are clearly not as good as the Chargers, but I'm not sure which way I lean, but that's in New Orleans, not an easy place to play.
Mm-hmm.
That's a noon start time. I believe that's a 1:00 Eastern time game. So again, not that matters, but I can understand why they did it at home. Patricia, you brought it up about social media and how the players found out. Mark, I wanted to ask you, obviously you didn't play in a time of Twitter and social media, but Brian Dable made sure we knew that he had a private meeting with the quarterbacks to let them know. Why did it stop there? Why did Dexter Lawrence find out on Twitter?
I don't know. What's the old line in Cool Hand Luke? What we have here is a failure to communicate. So that was just pure communication. You want to get your team on the same page. Yeah, you talk to the quarterbacks. Cool. Get that squash out of the way. And then address the team as a whole. Hey, blah, blah, blah. We're going to make a change. And this is the direction you want to go to. Show that kind of leadership. That point was missed.
Yeah, Patricia, I mean, you're around the team, you know it. It seems like, I hate to say this because it's weird, but it seems like guys are now walking on eggshells that they've created themselves because the team just isn't any good. And guys, as you said, are now coaching for their jobs.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the demeanor in the locker room. Week 1, before the first game, everybody was happy.
Yeah.
The mood was light. The music was playing. Guys were playing pool, ping pong, whatever the case may be. And then as the losses started piling up, it became very almost like a library.
Right.
The energy was kind of seeping out of the room. And, they say the right things. Everybody's going about it and preparing, because look, it boils down to pride, individual pride and whatnot. But, maybe Mark, you might be able to answer this. I mean, when you keep preparing, putting your body on the line and you don't have the results at the end of the day, I got to think that takes a little bit out of you.
It does, Patricia. I've been very fortunate not to have too many of those situations, I must say. But when we were in situations like that, and it's tough. Putting your body on the line, that's what we signed up for. That's what we do. And when things don't line up because of, hey, if a team's better than you, they're just flipping better than you. But when these losses start stacking up because of some of the decisions that coaches make on the offensive defensive side, went through that during the era of Ray Handley, players get pissed. And we know it. We see it. We feel it. And then there's a mini mutiny that starts, which can progress to a major mutiny. And when that happens, coaches get fired. And Patricia, I think that's what I'm hearing from you. That's kind of on the precipice if it goes awry.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I'm not sure people have been talking, at least not in New York. I haven't heard much about it, but the Giants are dealing with injuries on the offense. Obviously, no Tracy. We all loved what we saw from Scadaboo, but also Neighbors. Quote, I'll about playing this week. He also said decisions will be made closer to the game. Patricia, that does not sound good. Not to me.
No, I mean, think about it. If the things were going swimmingly, you would get guys probably saying, I'm playing. I don't care. I'm playing, even if I got to go out there with half an arm. But sometimes when things start to slide down the drain, now it's like, well, I'll see how I feel. And Mark, again, you could probably attest to this more than I can, having been around different teammates yourself, having played the game. But if you're banged up, I think if you're in a losing season, those injuries are going to hurt and linger a lot more than, the adrenaline that you would normally feel to, okay, look, we're in the thick of things. Let's go out there. Let's get it. Maybe the adrenaline kind of numbs the pain a little bit. I mean, would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you're 3-0, that statement never comes out. You would never say that. When you're 0-3, you start going, well, do I really want to do this? He started hemming and hawing, which is surprising to me. And I'll tell you why. It's the beginning of the season. You're 0-3. You're not out of anything yet. You're not. No one's really running rough shot. Okay, you have Philly. They're going to do their thing, whatever. Detroit's playing very well in the NFC, and the Rams are too. But, you're still in this thing. And it's week 4. And you're pulling the lever to give up now because you're hurt. You're hurt. You're going to be hurt all year. But like I said before, if they're 3-0 right now, he would not have said anything like that, especially coming off the game he had against the Chiefs. I know the Chiefs played well and shut him out with double and triple coverages, but at some point, you still got to get open. Dable and the offensive coordinators got to create plays to get him the ball more, which they didn't. So I guess some of the comments that you heard a couple of days ago, yesterday, or whatever, that factors in too because he's not getting the ball as much last week compared to against Dallas.
Yeah, it'll be extremely difficult if there's no Neighbors. Guys like Neighbors and Scadaboo and Dart probably have never, ever lost in their entire professional lives. So, Patricia, this is new for them. I'm not making excuses, but the point is it's stuff that they haven't experienced. So maybe do we give Neighbors a pass?
A pass in terms of how he's feeling, you mean?
Well, in regards to the fact that he isn't sure that he's going to play. And if they were 3-0, he would definitely play.
Well, I mean, I don't know that we can say that for sure. Obviously, we don't know the exact nature of his injury. I'm just saying that sometimes you do get guys who are like borderline and they say, if things are going well, they're definitely going to play. They say, no question, I'm out there. All I'm saying is with Neighbors, I do think he's a competitor. He takes a lot of pride in being out there. He wants to help the team however he can. And I do believe that if he is physically able to go out there, he will. I'm curious to see if he practices Thursday and Friday, how much he does. If he doesn't practice on Thursday, then I'm going to start to, get a little concerned there. But look, you've got a new quarterback coming in, and just to put myself in the young man's mind, if I could, which, I know was hard, I would be like, okay, we've got a new quarterback coming in. I want to do my part to make sure that this gets off on the right foot because this is the kid I'm going to be playing with for the next however many years, So I think at the end of the day, unless Neighbors goes the entire week and doesn't practice, he will be out there. Maybe he'll be a little limited in what they ask him to do. Maybe they don't ask him to block down field or whatever. But I do think he'll be out there if he can.
What are our expectations for Dart? And I'm not specifically talking about numbers and not necessarily wins or losses either. Mark, what are we expecting from him?
You, as a fan and as a former player, and I'll give you both sides of it, from a former player playing against a rookie who's just starting for the first time, I'm going to try to do everything I can to confuse him, to force him to make mistakes, right? Blitz, drop off the zone coverage, drop an end off in the zone, whatever. I'm going to try to confuse the hell out of him. Now, from a player perspective, as a fan perspective, I just want to see this guy not panic. I just want to see him take control of the offense. I want to see him just be him. We saw early in the season, last few games, how Dable put him in a couple of plays and they ran the ball, right? And people were asking, why did they do that? They put him in just to run the ball and not throw the ball down the field. And my reason is they want him to get acclimated to real fans, real pressure. Preseason is great, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to a meaningful game. It's almost like eating an ice cube. You eat the ice cube, does it quench your thirst? Yeah, to a point, but you'd rather have the popsicle with the taste. It does two things. It quenches your thirst and you got taste. Being in those games when it means something, he won't be overwhelmed with the fans and the pressure of meaningful reps.
All right, we'll take our first break of the show, and then we'll do the defense because there's lots to get to. All right, we will start with FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, we are back, and we are set for block number 2 here on the New York Giants Squad Show alongside Patricia and Mark. My name is Jay. The defense is ranked 31st in the run, with the exception, Mark, with the exception of Brian Burns, who has 4 sacks, second in the league. What's happened to the defense?
I don't know. They're garbage. I mean,
Mark, get out there and help them out, will you?
if they ask, I would. But
I know you would.
It's just when we think we can figure stuff out, we blame the defensive coordinator. We blame the efforts of the players. There's a lot of blame to go around. And quite honestly, I'll say this. Against the Chiefs, they did okay for the first half. You want a team like that to 22 points. Okay. The Chiefs woke up the second half, started establishing the run, getting the momentum going, and won the game. I don't know collectively what the hell's going on. But if you're 31st in the league against the run, I'm pretty sure the Chargers are going to come in licking their chops. Because you can't stop the run, you're definitely going to stop the play action pass. And that's what Kansas City did against them in the second half. So, and this is a copycat league, and you can blame the pass rush. We could blame the defensive backs. We could blame the defensive coordinator. I don't know how to fix it. I'm at a loss of words, and this is week 4. And if I don't have the answers, I don't know who has the answers.
Yeah, I don't think any of us do. Patricia, obviously the run defense has been bad, and we mentioned Burns as well. It's amazing that the run defense is so bad with Dex there, and I guess that's our next topic to tackle, is the fact that Dex has just not been good.
Well, that's part of it. I mean, we talked about this on the show before. Is Dex in football shape? He didn't really play any preseason snaps.
Right.
You know, they also managed his workload in the training camp period. So is he in football shape? Now, I would expect, or / hope, I should say, that this is the week we see the Dexter Lawrence of old. But I think the run defense as a whole, and I had this discussion with Justin Tuck on Locked On Giants, the run defense, the linebackers aren't filling holes as quickly as they need to. Guys up front are not getting off blocks as quickly as they need to. Dexter Lawrence, if you look at his game, he's being handled by solo blocking. I mean, when was the last time you saw that? Dexter Lawrence usually draws double team blocking, triple team sometimes. They're handling him with solo team blocking. So, you could sit there and say, okay, is there maybe injuries involved here that nobody's talking about? I think in the case of Dexter Lawrence, It's football shape. He's still rounding into football shape. I would hope this week we see the Dexter Lawrence of old. But if this continues, you've got to say, okay, you know, what exactly is going on here? Because look, we've talked about this in the past. Dexter can't do it all by himself. He needs help. He needs guys next to him. If he's drawing double team, guys next to him got to get off their blocks and do something. That hasn't been happening.
Mark, your thoughts on Dex moving forward? Obviously, I completely agree with Patricia for what it's worth. The fact that he might not be ready, but we're on to week 4. So he's had essentially a preseason so far in the regular season.
Absolutely. That's what I was saying. I mean, if you're not in shape now, when? We're week 4. At some point, if that's the case, he's not in shape. I don't know what he has to do to get in shape. Now, does that mean, am I saying run after practice, do whatever? There's that kind of shape and there's game shape. And that's something you got to get by playing in the games. Well, we're in week 4 now. You had 3 weeks to get in game shape, and you had at least 15 practices during the regular season to get in game shape. Well, damn, man. If you're not there yet, week 4 and week 5 down the road, it's not going to matter. We don't need you. We need you now to get out of this hole that they're in. I said we, like I'm playing. Get out of the hole that they're in. Man, do it now. Show up. Don't give me that crap about, I don't know, he says it, the fans are saying it, about being out of shape. Get in shape. That's your responsibility.
Yeah, I agree. And obviously the defense needs to get better. Dex needs to get better. As for the secondary, they'll be tested. Now, they did face Patrick Mahomes, but receivers were at a premium when it comes to Kansas City. Same can't be said for the Chargers. This is a potent offense. Mark, obviously, things need to improve in the secondary as well.
Yeah, I'm still not digging that rotation at corner with Flood and Banks. But the first half against the Chiefs, they played well. Yeah, the Chiefs were depleted at the wide receiver core. Two of the number ones weren't even there. But they held up pretty well. But the Chargers are coming in town, and the Chargers, they're known to throw the ball around quite a bit. Great receiving core. They're going to be tested, no doubt about it. I do like one of the bright spots to me. I do like how Drew Phillips is playing. I love his tenacity. Yeah, he'll have a penalty every now and then, but I like his tenacity. At least I don't want to say a bad word. At least he shows up. He shows up. I like that. So, but the Chargers coming in town, and we'll see what they'll do. I hope they hold up.
Yeah, Patricia, it's funny. I was going to bring him up. I made a note to do so, and that's Drew Phillips, who had 3 or 4 amazing plays and 3 or 4 horrible plays. Yeah. So I don't know what to make of him.
You know, it's interesting. I have him as a special guest coming up as a bonus issue. I had a chance to talk to him on Tuesday, had a really good conversation. He's actually one of my favorite players because I just, you know, he's very mature for a young guy. But, you know, here's what I don't get about the whole defensive secondary. You've got this pass rush that is getting home a little bit more, but the back end is not taking advantage of it. You see dropped interceptions. You see missed tackles. Tyler Newman, no offense, but I'm looking at you. You see, you know, like I said, the dropped interceptions. Again, Paulson Adebo last week, I'm looking at you. So I just don't feel like right now the defensive secondary is playing in sync with the front 7, if that makes any sense. You've got to capitalize on some of this stuff. The Giants have what? 1 interception, I think, all through 3 games. They've had opportunities. But, you know, I don't know. Can you stick them on your hands? Is that legal? I don't know. They got to come up with more interceptions. They've, you know, forced turnovers. We're just not seeing it. And, you know, you need all parts to function, you know, and to your point about Drew Phillips, he's been up and down. No question about it. He knows it. He knows he's been up and down. You also have to wonder, okay, if somebody's not doing their job, are guys like Drew Phillips trying to compensate for that? That's a question that, you know, they kind of gloss over, but you can't help but wonder.
Yeah, Mark, there's a fracture there, and I'm glad Patricia brought it up because it's a great point. It's not like the Giants are not getting to the quarterback. There are sacks there, but again, it seems like there are just two units not playing as one, Mark.
Well, as I mentioned before, the secondary and the pass rush got to be married. When I played, and even especially when I played, I crafted my coverage along with Perry Williams, Terry Cano, those guys, Greg Jackson. In particular, I patterned my coverage based on the rush of Leonard Marshall and Lawrence Taylor. So watching our game film, practice film, certain coverages, I'll watch how long it took them to get to the quarterback. 2.5 seconds, 3 seconds. I don't have to drop too deep. I can just basically backpedal and sit at 12 yards. If that quarterback looks at me and he knows Mark's there, the sack is already there. So you got to marry that. I don't think the Giants secondary they're not being taught that kind of mindset of watch what your pass rush does. That would dictate how long you have to cover in certain coverages, whether you're in bump and run, whether you're in press bail, whether you're in cover 2. Watch what your pass rush does and then predicate your coverage on that. And that's easy to do. All you have to do is go in the locker room, or nowadays, they send the cut-ups to you. Just watch it. Okay, this is cover 0. I'm 6-7 yards off the ball. Thibodeau's coming off the edge. He's getting there pretty quick. Well, you know what? By the time he gets there, I'm already at 13 yards. I don't have to turn and run deep because that ball's got to come out quick. If it doesn't come out quick, it's a sack, or if he throws it, it's a pick. They have to do that. And I know for sure that is not being taught nowhere in the NFL.
Perfect segue into Shane Bowen. I mean, on a macro level, he's coaching for his job. And I think they all are, whether you think that that's the right time to play Dart or not. Defensively, Shane Bowen has got a lot to fix, Patricia.
Sure does. I've often questioned whether what he's running fits the scheme, the talents of the players. If you're a coach, you put your players in the best position. The good coaches, I think, earn their money because they recognize, okay, this is what my guys do well. This is what they don't do well. So why would you ask them to do something that maybe they don't do as well, as opposed to something that they do and could potentially help you? And, Shane Bowen, I've said it before on my show, very nice man. I think, he's trying his best. But I go back to his qualifications. When he was at Tennessee, I believe that was the first time he was an NFL defensive coordinator. How much of that defense was actually Mike Vrabel's defense versus what Bowen brought to the table? Was Bowen just executing what Vrabel wanted? That would be my question. So now Bowen is in charge of this defense, and it just seems like sometimes some of the things he asks of these players, you sit there and you go, what are you doing, man? This isn't a fit. Why are you doing this?
Yeah, Mark, we've talked about how there's a lack of forced turnovers, perhaps a lack of confidence. What do the players think of a defensive coordinator when things are going poorly? How's that relationship work?
It's awful. And I've been in that situation too. When you're on Ray Handley again, he brought in Rod Rust. And he came from a team that was 1-15 and we're trying to run his defense. And his defense didn't fit our mentality. Me, Lawrence, Carl Banks, Pepper Johnson, those guys, it just didn't fit. And Patricia, you hit the nail on the head. If you don't have the players that fit your scheme, you can't ask a zone guy to play man coverage if that's not their specialty. You can't ask a linebacker who's just a basic run stopper to cover back out the backfield. That doesn't fit. It's got to fit. And I maybe the Shane Bowen, but he's got to know this stuff in camp. Not just him, but the people who drafted the players to fit the scheme. You draft players based on who fits your scheme. Did they do this? Being last against the rush, and I don't know their stats versus the pass, doesn't seem like it. They're getting up a lot of plays. they're just not meshing. So, yeah, you got to fit. Your players got to fit your scheme. And so far, it's not. But the defensive backs and other players, they've been in position to make the play, make tackles. They just haven't made the flip and play. That's on them. That's not on the DC.
All right, we did the offense and the defense. Let's spend a few moments on the LA Chargers, who, again, are a 3-0 team. And obviously the Giants don't see the Chargers very often, but we'll do that when we come back. All right, it's time for game time. NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. It sure is. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives you the advantage back to the fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Game Time in just a couple of taps. I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, we are back, and we are set to break down the Chargers at least for a few minutes. Obviously, we don't see a lot of them. They've only played 13 times, believe it or not, which is crazy. The Giants are 5-8 against the Chargers, and the Chargers are 3-0 for the first time since 2002. So they're playing well. As we said, two teams heading in opposite directions. We've said this multiple times, but again, big picture, Patricia, what do we think of the Chargers?
Well, let me just throw another quick stat at you. Chargers are one of the teams that Eli Manning, when he was here, he never beat, which is kind of funny.
Amazing.
That's the team that drafted him initially. But
right.
No, I mean, the Chargers, they've got a really good defense. We talked a little bit about the defense earlier in the program. That's a top 10 defense in the macro stats. Overall yardage allowed, rushing yardage, passing yardage. They're a very aggressive defense. And as Mark said earlier in the program, you're going to probably see some copycat stuff. I mean, you look at how the Chiefs, for example, played Malik Neighbors with the double coverage, a guy over the top. Probably going to see that again because it's the old, we're going to keep doing it to you until you figure out how to break it, which is kind of common in football. Now, offensively, Justin Herbert, one of the best young quarterbacks in the league. I don't think he gets enough love, to be honest with you. I think he gets lost kind of in the discussion when you talk about Josh Allen, when you talk about Joe Burrow and some of the other young quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, and so forth. But Justin Herbert gets the ball out quickly. He's got some legitimate receiving weapons, and they have a very balanced offense. And, we talk about the run defense, the Giants' run defense. I just have, concerns, can they shut down that Chargers run game? Otherwise, if they don't, Justin Herbert's going to have a field day carving up that defensive secondary.
Yeah, Mark, that's a perfect segue into your thoughts on what Herbert could and probably will do to the Giants secondary.
Yeah, he's not noticing the big changes from him from last year, even though it was Harbaugh's first year. They really relied on him to push the ball downfield. He got hurt by holding the ball on too long. But this year, they look very balanced. They can run the ball very well. Justin Herbert is not taking the ball deep. He doesn't have to. He's hitting the checkdowns. He's really looks good. Their defense is fast. They're quick. And watching them since they're in the AFC West, I know quite a bit about them. They look very, very good. I think this week against the Giants, they can be gotten if a perfect game plan offensively and defensively, and I'll get into that later down the road, with Jaxson Dart playing on offense, they can take advantage of some things that the Chargers don't do very, very well because they haven't prepared for Dart. And if Neighbors plays, it's even more opportunistic for the Giants.
Jim Harbaugh, obviously there, great NFL coach. There were many teams that wanted the services of Jim Harbaugh, but that combo, Harbaugh, Herbert, they put that in place. That's the way they wanted it, Patricia. And man, did they hit on it.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing when you hit the nail on the head, right?
Right.
I mean, again, this goes back to understanding the strengths of your players and optimizing them and doing things to minimize what they don't do well. That's where the good coaches really make their money. And Jim Harbaugh has done a really good job of that, not just with Justin Herbert, but with the entire team, overseeing the entire team. And it's reflective in their record and what they've been doing thus far in the rankings.
Harbaugh seems to pick the right spot wherever he goes. And I'm not suggesting that he's not a good coach, but Stanford and the Niners and Michigan, and he picks the right spot. He's really good at that, Mark.
Yeah, he's done this. He started at UC San Diego, right? He started there and then went up the coast, and he's a good motivator. And once you have a person who can motivate you to be better and more productive, it works. And that's why a lot of teams wanted him to coach their teams, the teams who were looking for coaches. But Jim's a motivator. He's a winner. He's a proven winner. And he tends to get the best out of the players. Wherever he's been, he's won. So that pedigree of him, what he's done, not just as a player, but as a coach, yeah, it's easy to get people to buy into that because every player looks at who's this guy and said, oh, this year, okay, cool. He bought in and it's working out well for him.
Patricia, you talk to players all the time. We used to talk about how West Coast teams coming east and playing the early game was brutal for them. I don't feel like we talk about that as much anymore. Is that a factor these days, or is that just gone by the wayside?
I think it really depends on how the coach structures the travel schedule. There are some teams that will come out, usually the way it works, teams travel on a Saturday to their road destination, which may or may not be enough time for some guys to acclimate, especially if you're coming from the West Coast.
Right.
So what some teams will do is they'll come out on a Friday night. They'll spend Saturday at a local high school going through their walkthrough and everything like that. But it's an opportunity to acclimate and get used to potentially, what the game time scenario is going to be. So I don't know how the Chargers plan to do it. I know the Giants typically haven't done it that way when they've got to go to the West Coast, and they've kind of struggled out there. But I would say, again, it just kind of depends, how long is the distance, where you're coming from, and if you come out on a Friday or a Saturday.
I'm trying to find any advantage that I can get. If it means that the Chargers are a little tired and not ready, so be it. I mean, that's part of the schedule. It's difficult for an East Coast team to go west as well. Mark, what do you remember about those days heading out west when you were with the Giants?
Well, when we played on the West Coast, whether it's the Rams or
Seahawks,
Chargers, Seahawks a little different. For some reason, it seemed like a longer flight. But no, we'll go out on a Friday. Get acclimated, like Patricia said, then we'll basically go out there and play. We usually play well. The different time we did it, we'll fly out to Arizona. Say we're playing the Cardinals in Arizona. We play the Cardinals in Arizona. Then the following week, we'll have like the Rams or San Diego at the time. We'll just stay on the West Coast, practice in that area, whether it's Phoenix, because we play the Cardinals, we'll beat them. And then we stay out there in Phoenix, and then we'll go to either San Diego or LA and play the Rams, and then we come back. But we always went a day earlier, Friday, Saturday, mostly Fridays, for a West Coast game. And it usually worked out pretty well for us.
Very interesting stuff. Now, in regards to injuries, Najee's not going to be there. He's out. But they did welcome back Keenan Allen. If you saw the touchdown pass last week, that was pretty amazing. Patricia, the effect of not having Najee and having Keenan Allen back, it's like a good or bad, if you will.
Next man up.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember the young man's name, but I think they have another running back, somebody
Hampton.
they drafted, Hampton,
Yeah.
right. And he's looked pretty good. So, this isn't to diss Najee Harris, but Hampton, it's kind of like the situation the Giants are facing now with Tyrone Tracy, who's going to miss some time, and Cam Scatterbo. You come in and it's the next man up. And I know they're not the same player, but now maybe it just gives you an opportunity to do different things that you couldn't do with the guy who was in there before. And I think that's what you're going to see with the Chargers. You work with what you've got. And like you said, if you figure out how to, put them in the best positions and get the most out of their talents, I don't know that it's that huge of a deal. I mean, unless you're talking about trying to replace a Lawrence Taylor, who obviously is just not replaceable. I don't care who it is. But, most guys, if you can tweak things a little bit, and again, that's where good coaching comes into play. And Jim Harbaugh has done a really good job with that, with his team.
Yeah, there's been a lot of injuries around the league. It seems like more so than ever through 3 weeks or whatever. We're on to week 4. But Mark, as Patricia said, Jim Harbaugh is really good at getting the guys that need to fill in for the stars to play well and to get ready. And that's something that maybe Brian Daboll isn't good at.
Well, since you made that, let's compare the two. Yeah, Harbaugh's better. How's that? Okay, that's what he does. So the components that Jim has to do that, because he's done it before. You got Keenan Allen, who got released, and they signed him back to the Chargers. He's not the Keenan Allen of old, but he's productive. He knows the offense. He knows his role. Big receiver, he can make things happen. The running back situation, they're going to create more plays for now the new starter since Najee isn't playing. They make things happen. They'll still be effective. They're not going to miss a beat, not a big beat. They'll still do the Charger stuff. They'll play action, do the stretch plays, do the crosser routes, try to put the ball on the outside to the bigger receivers. They have speed on the outside as well. They're going to still be the Chargers that they were the last 2 or 3 games.
It's really funny because I'm trying to figure out, Patricia, how the Chargers play this. Obviously, the run defense of the Giants is bad, but the secondary can be had, I guess, for lack of a better term. So which way are we expecting the Chargers to go? To run, to pass? I mean, both. It's funny. It could go either way, it seems like.
Balance. You have to have a balanced offense. I mean, it's that simple. If you become one-dimensional, guess what? Now you make it a heck of a lot easier for the defense to defend you. So I think we'll see a little bit of everything from the Chargers until such time that the Giants show, nope, not happening. We're not going to let you do this. We're not going to let you beat us with the run, or no, we're not going to let you beat us with the pass. But the goal, I think, of every offense, not just the Chargers, not just the Giants, but every NFL offense, is to be as balanced as possible.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Mark, big picture as far as Giants defense trying to prevent a high-scoring output from the Chargers.
Well, you go into a game, because we all get the tendencies of what they want to do down a distance, certain situations, left hash, right hash, all that stuff we get. So how fast can the Giants defense put that in their mindset? And Shane puts his play calling list together when to call certain plays, defenses. High scoring, the Chargers, can they score a lot of points? Yeah. I don't know. I've been noticing over the last few weeks, some of the scoring has been low down in the NFL this year. But last week, the Chiefs scored, they scored 22 points. The Chargers have scored points that well. What will the Giants do defensively to slow them down? They got to play solid defense. I mean, you rank 31st against the run. Yeah, the Chargers are going to run the flipping ball at you because you're 31st in the flipping league. They're going to run at you. If you stop them, okay, then they're going to throw the ball. If you stop them, make the Chargers do something that they don't want to do. They start doing trick plays and reverse passes, then you got them exactly where you want them. But we'll see if that happens on Sunday.
All right, one final break. And when we come back, we have to do the kicking situation because that is a disaster as well. And obviously, we want to put a ribbon or a bow on this in regards to Jaxson Dart. We'll do all of that coming up next. All right, it's time for Wayfair. When you think game day, you might not think Wayfair, but you should, because Wayfair is the best kept secret for incredible and affordable game day finds. Wayfair has everything you need to get your space ready for the season, whether you're tailgating outdoors or cheering from your living room. I picked up a grill and it completely leveled up my game day setup. What I love most is the selection. Wayfair has unique finds and options for every budget, so I can show off my team spirit without overspending. Delivery was free, fast, and hassle-free, which is a lifesaver when you need something in time for kickoff. From outdoor essentials like folding chairs and patio heaters to indoor must-haves like TV stands and serveware, Wayfair has it all in one place. Wayfair is your trusted destination for all things game day, from coolers and grills to recliners and slow cookers. Shop, save, and score today at wayfair.com. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. All right, final block of the show alongside Patricia and Mark. My name is Jay. Let's do the kicking situation first, because Young Ho Koo was signed to the practice squad. What is the deal with Graham Gano? Is this? I mean, we've seen this for 3 years now. It's amazing stuff. But Patricia, what's the latest? I mean, what are we going to do with the kicking situation?
Gano is not going to be ready. Brian Dable has already said that. I don't know if he's going to land on IR. I suspect that's what's coming. But, look, I go back to the offseason, and one of the guys I kept pounding the table to have his contract redone, given the fact that he had 2 straight years of injuries that landed him on IR, was Gano, who I think has the second highest cap hit amongst kickers in the NFL. The Giants didn't do anything. Now, I kind of understand the thinking in a way, because I don't think Joe Shane wanted to saddle Brian Dable with a younger and cheaper kicker, because, this is such a big year for them. But the best ability is availability. And Gano, look, injuries happen. No player goes out there and says, oh, I'm going to get injured today. It happens. I get that. But when a guy has an injury situation, an injury history building up, which Gano has had, you have to be smart and you have to say, okay, you know what, Graham, we love you, but we're going to have to redo this contract, because Gano has another year on his contract after this year. So we want to convert some of this money and maybe give you, a bigger signing bonus. We want to do something to get your number down. And if you can, work something out where, you pay him based on his availability, you do that. Now that, I think, requires the player's approval, where it's just strictly restructuring a contract to convert the base salary into a signing bonus. That they can do just like that, because the player's going to get his money. But I just don't understand what they're doing with that. Everybody was screaming, oh, Andrew Thomas, injury prone, they should cut his salary, they should do this. Why isn't anybody screaming about that with Gano?
Yeah, I am. Because it's ridiculous. Fool me
once.
Because
he's a kicker.
Fool me twice. Well, that's the thing I don't get, Mark. This is an easy fix. Let's say you, as Patricia pointed out, you were not in love with Dex anymore. Kind of hard to trade. Kind of hard to cut. Same with the top players. It's not hard to fix or cut or replace a kicker. I don't understand why the Giants have gone to the mat for this guy so many times.
Kickers are like a dime a dozen. They are. You could go to a soccer team and get a kicker, to be honest with you, if you really think about it. Now, the Gano situation, Patricia knows, they saw this, they saw it, and they didn't take care of it. now it's biting them in the ass because, well, we knew he was messed up, but we didn't. For them not to know, and I know they know, they can restructure and put his money, front load his contract and do whatever. They know how to do that. They got the magic of the pen to erase zeros, add zeros, put a zero here, take one off here. They have the wherewithal to do it. I tend to think they didn't see that as an important thing to do at the time until it comes up right now and it's biting them in the ass. And now they got to sign a decent kid. Well, he has great stats when he was with Atlanta. I think his first round pick, But so now they're trying to fix it. Well, this is what you get when you don't foresee what you knew was there.
Yeah, I mean, we all saw it. I still don't get it. I mean, I would have cut him after the Washington game last year. And by the way, Dable blew that day too. So I mean, it's just it's amazing that, see, like, to me, as I said, that's an easy fix. Even if you lessen the talent of your kicker, I mean, he cost them 2 to 3 games. So anyways, that's that.
Go with the guy, you go with what you know. And I think that's what they're doing. Look, this is year 4 of this regime. They know that they got to win. They know that they have to please John Mara, and John Mara needs to be in a better mood than he was at the end of last year. So how much tinkering do you think they're going to really do? I can understand what Joe Shane was doing there. I just don't agree with it because, again, the guy has had lower body injuries 2 years in a row. You mean to tell me you didn't think to try to protect yourself with somehow, some way? And they had that kid Jude McEntee on the practice squad, the International Pathway Program kid, and now they bring in Young Ho, who is a very good kicker. I think he's like 13th in accuracy, if I'm not mistaken. I forget exactly the stat, but he's a good kicker. He had a bum rap down in Atlanta, and you just look at the Giants salary cap. This is something I do a lot. The money that is being wasted on A, guys that are no longer on the roster, or B, guys that they've had to move to IR because for whatever the reason, it just blows your mind. And is there any wonder why the Giants are last, as of this recording, in salary cap space?
It's funny. I mean, it's funny because it's sad, and I cannot believe we're spending 10 minutes on the kicker, but rightfully so. This is the best part of the show. The fact that the Giants can't get out of their own way, Mark.
Well, listen, you hit the nail on the head. We're talking about a flipping kicker. But more than that, we're talking about the inconsistency of seeing what they really, really needed. And once again, they put certain things ahead of something that should be automatic, a decent kicker, something you don't have to trade on all the time. You know what you got. You know what you got, but they knew what they had wasn't the quality they expected, but they thought at the time that it wasn't worth fixing. For some reason, they didn't feel that it was important. But now you see that it's flipping important.
Yeah, I mean, they don't call them special teams special for no reason. Anyways, enough about the kicker. Patricia, let's do this because you brought this up in a pre-show meeting, and I thought it's a wonderful question to tackle here, and that is, back to Dart, does the QB make that big of a difference? Now, obviously, we understand the importance of the quarterback, but this is an interesting situation because we desperately need him to make a difference.
It's interesting. Brian Dable was asked, how do you know that Jaxson Dart is ready? Now, this isn't like you give the guy a test, and if he gets 80% or higher, he's ready to go.
Right.
Things happen on the football field. They happen in a snap. You've got to make decisions. You've got to be alert. You've got to, expect the unexpected and be ready for it. And that's a lot to put on a kid. And I'm not saying that Jaxson Dart can't handle that. But this whole situation, if I'm being honest with you, reminds me of what happened with Daniel Jones in 2019. Eli Manning, who, along with Phil Simms, two of the greatest quarterbacks in recent franchise history, they benched him after an 0-2 start so that they could get Daniel Jones out there on the field. Now, Pat Shurmur at the time wanted to open up his offensive playbook, have elements that maybe Eli wasn't as good as running, specifically the mobility aspect. Daniel Jones showed signs of being able to, being a good quarterback, but at the end of the day, did putting him out there save Pat Shurmur's job? It did not. No. The rest of the team couldn't hold up. So, and then we saw the odyssey that Daniel Jones went on when he was here. And now that he's out in Indianapolis, good for him. He's lighting it up. Good for him. So I just wonder about the whole scenario. I mean, is this a desperation move? I see it as a desperation move, a chance to, okay, I've got to save my job. And the kid may or may not be ready, fully ready, but I've got to roll with it. I've got to roll with my gut. I've got to roll with my feeling that as a quarterback, quote unquote, guru, that I can get him up to speed. But just the whole plan, I think, that they had intended for him has gone totally off the rails. And that's what's got me concerned, because now they're flying by the seat of their pants.
And I can't believe I'm saying this, but unfortunately, Mark, it's a home game. They're going to get booed. It's going to be bad. You know it. It's so important to get off to a quick start in any game, but specifically this one, I'd almost feel better if they were on the road.
I agree. I believe the fans will be very vocal if it goes awry. But I agree with Patricia in the whole comparisons. But one thing I've watched over the progressions of the years of the National Football League, which makes younger quarterbacks more game ready, is the NFL pro style offense is no different than any SEC offense. They're the flipping same. So for Jaxson to come in right now and can do the things that he did at Ole Miss, and they have plays for him. And I know the pro defense are a little sometimes advanced, and defense always catches the offense. But if he could come in and have a performance that he had in college, because the offense is all pretty much all the same. They all do the jet sweep. They all do all the RPOs. That's college football in the pros now. If he can do something like that and manage games and make plays, I think he'll be well. You're not putting him in a situation to be like Eli Manning or, Phil Simms, a drop back guy, sit there. That's not the NFL anymore. It's all play action, RPOs, dipsy doodle stuff. If he can do all that kind of stuff on the pro level, he'll be just fine.
All right, so the number is 6. The Giants are getting 6, and for what it's worth, nothing. I'm laying the points because I just don't trust the Giants, and I need to see it before I can trust it. Patricia, big picture, your thoughts heading into week 4.
I was optimistic to start the season, but I can't pick the Giants in any scenario until I see more consistency, till I see improvement. So, the Chargers, they're on a roll. I thought maybe the Giants could beat Washington. I thought they could definitely beat Dallas. But the Giants just, for whatever the reason, can't get out of their own way. And until that stuff gets cleaned up, I'm sorry, I can't pick them.
Mark?
The Giants have the Chiefs on a roll. They were on the ropes last week in the first half. The Chiefs were basically railing. You saw the argument between Kelsey and Reed. They were almost imploded, but they came back in the second half and won. I honestly think the Giants are going to win this game. I'm going to tell you why. The Giants will steal a win from a team that they were supposed to lose to. I thought it was going to be Kansas City, and it could have been Kansas City last week. I think it's going to be against the Chargers.
Interesting. I'll say this, Mark. I have more faith because you did say the glass needs to be broken several times over the last couple of weeks and start Dart, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Again, for what it's worth, I'm laying the points. But let me just say this. I'm excited because of Dart, and I don't know if that's good or bad. It's fun to be excited, but Patricia, we'll close with this. Our expectations of Dart. I actually expect him to play fairly well. The question is, as you said earlier, how does the rest of the team hold up?
Yeah, look, anytime you have a new quarterback, remember, the rest of the league doesn't have any true film on him, how he's going to be deployed in the offense that he's in. So there is that element of you can maybe catch teams off guard with a little surprise here and there, but you need the other 10 guys on offense to do their thing. You need that offensive line to block. You need the receivers not to drop balls. You need the running backs to hit the holes and be decisive. If they don't do that, it doesn't matter if which quarterback is back there. It's not going to matter. You also need the play calling to be, on par with what you need to do. And these are all elements that have plagued the Giants. So, going back to what I said, Brian Dable himself said the offense's woes are not all on one guy, Russell Wilson. Just so happens that based on the actions, that's the guy who's being swapped out. So we'll see if Jaxson Dart can make a difference. If he gets the ball out quickly, that'll help the offensive line. If he's more decisive with the ball, that should help the receivers. So, I'm hopeful. I mean, it's exciting always to see a new quarterback, but the other 10 guys got to do their job.
Mark, your thoughts, and we'll give you the last word.
Remember when Justin Herbert got his first start? When Tyrod Taylor was hurt in the locker room, he took an injection and he couldn't play. Herbert came in and lit it up not just because they had film on him, because the offense was very similar to what he ran when he was at Oregon. I'll leave it there.
All right. Last week, you got the NFC East preview, and it's not too late to binge every Locked On Division preview. Be the most informed NFL fan in an 8-episode series, bringing you every division winner, breakout star, and Super Bowl contender. Find the link in the description to the Locked On NFL playlist on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right. We've bashed the Giants for about an hour. Hopefully, we won't be bashing them on Sunday. For Patricia and Mark, I'm Jay. This has been the New York Giants Squad Show. We'll see you immediately following Giants and Chargers. Have a good day.